saying that I spoke with Councilor Hernandez today, and she said because of people their schedules, if we could entertain the motion of going out of order. So if Councilor Hernandez, if you want to take up item number 3 first.
Yes, I make a motion to take up item number 3 off the table out of order.
Sure,
Second.
Sounds good. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, Councilor Hernandez, I'll turn this over to you, my friend.
Great, thank you. On the motion, Mr. President, the issue at hand is that I have filed was to take out of the jacket and revisit the motion that was filed by then Councilor Nelson Roman in regards to replacing Columbus Day with Indigenous Day.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I probably should read. I should read probably the order. I think I jumped the gun. All right, so order filed by Councilor Hernandez. Ordered that a proposal resolution filed in the past by Councilor Nelson Roman be taken up by the Public Service Subcommittee as it relates to replacing Columbus Day with the Indigenous People Day. The city of Holyoke consists of more than 50% of population being Latinos, predominantly of the Puerto Rican heritage. Okay, now we can go for it.
Okay, thank you on the motion. So the matter of celebrating Columbus Day and what that actually means, it implies that that Columbus was a hero and for discovering a world in which people, nations that were already established and their cultures already existed. So, and in fact, the exploration trip was a conquest of slavery, colonialism, oppression that culminated in genocide. So our community should gather on this day and celebrate the cultures and languages of those that are underrepresented, voices that are not heard or that are no longer here. So this holiday contributes to the teaching of wrong information to children in schools, and it creates a false image and narrative to the original landowners, and so this is why it's important for me coming from the heritage that I come from. I come from Caribbean, Indians, and it's very important that as we move forward, that the true history is communicated to our children and generations to be. So with no further ado, I know that there is people here and that has joined us, and I would like to make a motion, if that's the correct order, Mr. President. Please correct me if I'm wrong. To suspend,
I think you're right.
To suspend the rules and open up the public hearing so we can hear from the people that are here to provide input on this matter.
Sure. Councilor Hernandez invited some guests. So if Councilor Leese, if you can second that.
Second.
If you'd like to, you don't have to. Okay, all in favor? The ayes have it.
Aye.
Okay, Councilor Hernandez, do you have anybody that you'd like first?
Jeffrey, because I don't see, can I see the panelists? Let me just look. One moment, please.
Sure.
There are 3 people that are listed as attendees right now, so we would, well, okay, 2 now that could raise their hand if they wanted to speak.
Okay.
And
I actually, and what was the to raise their hands? What was the procedure? Can you repeat it?
If they open up the participants button, it will allow them to see a raised hand feature, or if they are on by phone, they can hit *9. I would also note that I, as well as Councilor Leahy, received an email from somebody who wanted an email to be read into the record for this.
Okay.
Oh, we did?
It was very shortly before the meeting, so you might not have seen it.
Oh, I have not seen it.
I see that we have Ms. Elizabeth Ramirez with their hand up, and if we can go in that order, Mr. President.
Absolutely. I think she's muted.
I'm on.
Elizabeth, you with us?
I sure am.
All right. So, Councilor Hernandez asked you to speak. What say you, my friend?
How much time do I have to speak?
You want me to answer that? Let's just stay to the point and let's get your points across, and we'll go from there.
It's fairly brief, but all right. Well, my name is Elizabeth Carepi Ramirez. I live at 205 Bemis Road in Holyoke.
I'm sorry. Can you spell your last name?
Sure. My middle name is Caretti, Caretti, and my last name is Ramirez, which is on my profile. So I am a proud Italian American. My mother's side of the family is from Lago Maggiore in the north of Italy. We're in touch with our Italian family. E parlo anche un po' di italiano. When I was in graduate school, that means I speak a little bit of Italian. I had the opportunity to read Cristobal Colon, also known as Columbus's original diary in Spanish. Here's an excerpt of what I read. I want to warn you that this passage contains stories of violence, including sexual assault, and will not be easy for many to hear. So I just wanted to give that warning. So this is a direct quote from Columbus. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. Columbus would add, as soon as I arrived in the Indies on the first island which I found, I took some of the natives by force in order that they might learn and might give me information of whatever there is in these parts. This is another quote. While I was in the boat, I captured a very beautiful Carib woman. That's the Taino people who live in the Caribbean, whom the Lord Admiral gave to me. When I had taken her to my cabin, she was naked, as was their custom. I was filled with a desire to take my pleasure with her and attempted to satisfy my desire. She was unwilling and so treated me with her nails that I wish I had never begun. But to cut a long story short, I then took a piece of rope and whipped her soundly, and she let forth such incredible screams that you would not have believed your ears. Eventually we came to such terms, I assure you, that you would have thought she had been brought up in a school for whores. You may accuse me of being this is me now speaking. You may accuse me of being a revisionist historian, but Bartolome de las Casas, who was a Dominican friar whose father sailed in Columbus's second expedition to the Americas, wrote the following. Endless testimonies prove the mild and pacific temperament of the natives, but our work was to exasperate, ravage, kill, mangle, and destroy. Small wonder then if they tried to kill one of us now and then. The admiral, it is true, was blind as those who came after him, and he was so anxious to please the king that he committed irreparable crimes against Indians. Las Casas describes how Spaniards rode on the backs of natives, how Spaniards thought nothing of knifing Indians by 10s and 20s and of cutting slices of them to test the sharpness of their blades. Las Casas adds, 2 of these so-called Christians met 2 Indian boys one day, each carrying a parrot. They took the parrots and for fun beheaded the boys. With this truth of history, why would we choose Christopher Columbus to bring pride to Italian Americans? I'm so baffled by this. What about Da Vinci? There are so many amazing Italians that we could be celebrating and looking up to. And we have to pick a raping, genocidal murderer. To add insult to injury, the people that Columbus raped, enslaved, and killed were Taino Indians. Holyoke is nearly 50% descendants of Tainos. How insulting that this is the man who is celebrated in Holyoke when we have Italian Americans and we have people who are descendants of Tainos in this city. I strongly urge this body to move forward the resolution to the council meeting that we stop celebrating Columbus Day in Holyoke and we replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day to honor the people that he killed and raped and took as slaves. And we also at the same time will be honoring our nearly 50% residents of this city, and also like people like me who are proud Italian Americans who know their history and want to remember people who are righteous and who did the right thing, like Bartolome de las Casas, who was not Italian, he was Spanish, but he lived at that time and he knew that what they were doing is wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
I don't see anybody else. I know that there's more people that are interested in providing input, but they weren't able to join today, and most likely are going to be participating if it does move forward to the full city council meeting, if given the opportunity.
Well, let me ask you this, Councilor Hernandez. I think earlier today you wanted this tabled for another time.
Well, I did mention that if it was wise to table it to provide an opportunity for others to come forward with more information and with what has been done, like in the town of East Hampton. I was in conversation earlier today with our Honorable City Councilor Omar Gomez, and I mean, that town adopted the Indigenous People Day. There's many people that contributed to the discussion there. So I'm not sure if we should table it to allow more time for other people to join, or if it would be wise to make a motion to move it to full city council. What is your suggestion, Mr. President?
I would think that, you know, this is pretty heavy stuff. I think that maybe more testimony or more information. You know, quite frankly, I don't have anything in front of me except for just the order. I don't have any information regarding this. And maybe somebody have their hand up?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Graney.
Yeah, just quickly, I did some research today. The city of New Haven, Connecticut has just renamed Columbus Day to Food for Information. They just renamed Columbus Day to Italian Heritage Day. So that's something that's on the table. It's out there too. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a list of all the towns in Massachusetts that have adopted Indigenous Peoples Day. Would that be helpful, or the number or the towns?
I think that'd be helpful. And also, if you can, and Councilor McGivern can correct me if I'm wrong, those quotes that you read into the record, if you can send that to Jeffrey, and he can distribute that to the councilors, just because it's in the record now, we need a copy of it.
Sure.
Am I right with that, Joe?
Yes, Mr. Chair, yes.
Okay.
And
yeah,
these are the towns: Amherst,
well,
Arlington.
Well, ma'am,
you don't
if you don't, no, I do want to know, but I would like you to forward those to us. Can you email that to Jeffrey?
Want me to read it out loud? You just want me to send it to you?
Oh no, you can feel free to read it out loud. But
Okay.
We need a copy for the record.
I will do that. Amherst, Arlington, Brookline, Cambridge, East Hampton, Great Barrington, Marblehead, Mashpee, Maynard, Melrose, Newtown, Northampton, Provincetown, Salem, Somerville, Wellesley. And they also have several public school systems and other U.S. cities. There's a long list, and I'll send them all to you.
Good, we appreciate that. Thank you. So, Councilor Hernandez, the ball's in your court. I mean, I would suggest maybe
there's the testimony that Jeffrey has, and it seems that there might be one other person who joined who may be interested in this.
All right, Jeffrey, go ahead.
Yeah, this is from John J.R. Rivera. He said, I live on 2 Laurel. I'm sorry?
Okay. No, go ahead.
He lives on 2 Laurel Street. He said he's here today on the basis of item 3 filed by Councilwoman Hernandez. Although I believe this to be the bare minimum and a symbol towards how little we've progressed, I am in full support of such an item proposal resolution. I hope to see less performative action for the purposes of opportunism and more direct action that combat the injustices we see in our streets, departments, and all circles here in Holyoke. As a Boricua, I appreciate this item, but I believe it is opportunistic in approach, and I hope to see more direct action to combat systemic racism, over-policing, and disparities within my community. None of which I have seen at all growing up here and keeping tune with the circus that is our city council. Again, I, like many in my community, am in full support and hope this goes through swiftly. Sending my gratuity to Councilwoman Libby Hernandez for taking the lead on this.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have another person that raised their hand? Is there somebody that's not on Zoom, but maybe the phone?
Looks like they are on a device, so they have not raised their hand.
Okay, all right. So,
Yes,
Councilor
they-
Lacey, what's your suggestion?
Yes,
They are raising their hands.
Oh, they are.
Oh, okay.
This is Corey Flanders.
Corey, go ahead.
Just
Just
They're
name and address, please. I think she's on mute, or he.
they're transitioning in.
Hi, my name is Corey Flanders. I live at 55 Nonotuck Street in Holyoke. And I just wanted to comment that I support the name change and I appreciate it being brought in front of the council.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And Jeffrey, you have one other person?
Jennifer Keat.
All right, Ms. Keat. Ms. Keat, I think you're on mute.
I think it just takes a while for them to transition over from attendees to panelists.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
All
Good
right.
evening.
My name Jennifer Keat. I live on Arthur Street here in Holyoke. And I just wanted to say that I too am in support of changing the day to Indigenous Peoples Day. But the reason I raised my hand, other than just being in support, was to point out that the Holyoke Public Schools refer to it as Indigenous Peoples Day. And they've been doing that for at least the last year or two. So it would be nice for our city council and our school to kind of be on the same page. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Councilor Lacey,
Yeah,
let's say.
I'd like to speak. There is one other person, so I'd like the public to speak before I do. So if this last individual, Francis, would like to speak, we'd ask them to raise their hand.
Sure, Francis, come on in.
Their hand is not yet raised, so I'm just unsure. I'll speak
Maybe,
while we're figuring.
Maybe they don't
that
want
out.
to speak. Okay.
Well, we should first say that if you wish to speak, you need to raise your hand, and there is a button in the bottom of the screen that would allow you to do that. Okay, so yes, I was going to make the same point that Ms. Keat just made. My child's been in the Holyoke Public Schools for 3 years now, and we've always been calling it Indigenous Peoples Day and having the day off. And so I was under the impression that the city of Holyoke had already adopted this order that was filed a while ago. I think that calling the day anything else is really not only a misnomer, because the whole point of calling it Columbus Day is to honor the discovery of the Americas, but the Americas were not discovered. There were indigenous peoples here. And I think that we should honor the truth of that history, that there were indigenous people here, and that their culture has been relegated to the margins at best, or even eradicated in some instances. The land that the city of Holyoke on was the land of at least 3 different native peoples, and one of which is completely eradicated at this point in time. So I would be very much in favor of moving forward with the order to recognize the first Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day.
Okay, we have a motion to table it or to move forward. Yes, go ahead,
Sorry,
Councilor.
Mr. President.
Okay, no worries.
So I have Mr. Juan Gabriel Sanchez. He has joined, and I think that he's having difficulty raising the hand, but he would like to speak. And he's the Director President at Nueva Esperanza.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. Is everybody here able to hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely. Welcome.
Thanks. And thank everybody for being here tonight. Yeah, so my name is Juan Sanchez. I'm the president and chair of Nueva Esperanza, Inc. Libby reached out to me upon first starting this order, and I'm happy to be here and support her in changing the name of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not going to go through all the statistics and history, as I'm sure other speakers prior to me have already gone through it, as have other counselors. I just want to speak to the sentiment that it sends to the Indigenous community, to the Black Indigenous people of color community, and the trend that's going on. Even in Plymouth last year, they changed the name to Indigenous Peoples Day, right? In Plymouth, the Plymouth Rock, the place where the Mayflower landed, changed its name from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. So it's not going out the way to say that this is a trend that's going on throughout the country, throughout several communities in Massachusetts, and we're not going on a limb by changing this name and the significance behind Columbus and all that, which I'm sure, as I said, other speakers and counselors have gone into. But, you know, several other communities, Cambridge, Plymouth, Brookline, and other communities have changed the name from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. So, you know, it's not like we're, you know, setting anything new or creating any controversy by doing this, but we are sending a strong message of solidarity with the Indigenous communities and against the atrocities that unfortunately, you know, is part of Columbus's history that we often don't recognize. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. All right. So what do you guys want to do?
I make a motion that we adopt it.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and second to adopt the order and move it to full city council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, Joe, last second, I see a hand pop
Just
up.
on clarification, because of the way the order reads, what are we adopting?
That we had this meeting,
Okay.
I suppose.
No,
no, that's not.
There's no resolution in front of us. I'm just asking.
Right. Well, no, I'm that's my I suppose it's just been complied with, the order.
I'm just looking for the agenda. I think it says that we recognize the Columbus Day holiday as Indigenous Peoples Day, as opposed to.
That's what it says. That's what I filed.
Mm-hmm. And the motion was made to adopt that order, seconded, and I believe it was.
Joe, you okay with that?
I just, the way I read the order was to look into an order filed by a former city councilor. That's what my agenda reads. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
There's
yes,
no
but
resolution on the order.
So it'd be,
may I, Mr. President?
Yeah, but just first, so it would be complied with then, correct? Is that the right language?
Well, I don't think that's the intent of the maker of the order or the speakers this evening. So I'm just trying to clarify this so that we're in good order when it gets to the full city council.
Okay, then how should we proceed in your?
Well, you know, the speakers and the maker of the order, you know, I think the order, I get the intentions, but when you read it, it isn't exactly asking the city, and I don't know how the city council does it, you know, to change the name. It's asking that a former city councilor's order be taken up.
Which I believe that goes back to the same request that I made, which is to change Columbus Day, and instead of observing that holiday, that we change it to recognize Indigenous People Day. So I think that if we look at what Nelson Roman filed, and then I reiterated, and maybe I didn't write it the correct way, but so I reiterated that it was to continue with the order that then Councilor Nelson Roman filed on changing and observing, instead of Columbus Day, to change it to Indigenous People Day.
Which is what you wrote, and I agree with that, right, Councilor Hernandez. But to vote on that, all we're voting on is that. You know, we need the resolution. to make it formal.
Okay, so is there something already written in the order that Nelson Roman filed like 2 years ago?
We'd have to have Jeffrey do some research on that. You want to just make a motion to table it for the purpose of researching that last order that Councilor Roman had authored?
I would suggest that, sorry, I'll raise my hand to be recognized. Sure. I would suggest that on this agenda, we should have had that other order referenced. And so I don't think that the mistake is so much in the order that Councilor Hernandez filed, but that the second order that Roman filed is not here in reference for everyone to see. But I think that the intent is clear. And so it's just a matter of having the language before us. And so to me, it's just getting that. We could pull it out of committee in front of the full city council next week, or we could just work with Councilor Hernandez's order.
Well,
I'll note that I did look in the jacket and couldn't.
Yeah, I don't think there's a mistake made. I certainly don't think there's any mistakes made. But I think the language that we should have the language in front of us that we're voting on, and we shouldn't do committee work in the full city council meeting. You know, that's always my opinion.
I agree. If there's no order in the jacket and it was searched for, I think then we would have to table it. But
or let me ask you this, Councilor, can you just maybe if it's not in the jacket and it hasn't been, do we even know that he filed this order? A. B, what does the order say? C, maybe forget about exactly what he has done and maybe re-author it if you'd like, rewrite it.
Why don't we amend this order then? And then just say that a
well, no, we would need to see if she wants to do a resolution, we should be able to read the resolution.
Okay, motion to table.
Councilor Tolman has his hand up. Would you like to recognize him, Mr. President?
I would. I was just waiting for Councilor Lisi to be through. Councilor Tolman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I understand that. I believe I remember this coming up with Councilor Roman probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And I think there was a resolution with it. So, and I agree with Councilor McGivern. I understand the intent and I'm all behind it. But I think there should be something written up and maybe we can find out with the other communities how they did it. I think it should be a 2 or 3 paragraph resolution that could be put together, you know, for the meeting. If not this meeting, for the following next meeting we have.
Okay, Councilor McGee.
There it is. Thank you. I was just going to say through you to Councilor Hernandez or whoever, one of the speakers, if you could get us a copy of what was passed in the other towns, and we can just fill it in with the Holyoke language.
Yeah.
And I think we can file that before Friday, before 12 o'clock, and now it's on the agenda. So you could table it, bring up more discussion. That's all fine. But if we want to get something by certain deadlines, you could have it filed for Friday, which would be on the Tuesday agenda. I just bring out to people that spoke tonight and they said, you know, how much time do I have? And that's always the hard part about a full city council meeting. They'll say, you know, I only get a minute and a half, and that's just our rules. I like when it comes to committee to allow people to speak as long as they want to go over this stuff, and that's fair. Going to a Tuesday night meeting where you get a minute and a half to speak is not fair. So if people want to speak, I'd say, you know, option 1 would be to table it, get the language, allow people to speak. If everyone that we thought was going to speak tonight did speak and they're comfortable, then I think it's really, this is complied with. File it by Friday at 12 with the amended Holyoke language, and then we can potentially act on it on Tuesday if that's the will of the body, if we really want to meet certain deadlines. If that makes sense. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, so we have 2 options. What's the will of what's the will of our subcommittee?
I wouldn't want to table it, but I like, and thank you, Councilor McGee, for that insight. I would like to go with what Councilor McGee has proposed on I can file a resolution, like, and reach out to East Hampton and then move forward with that before the deadline at 12 o'clock on Friday.
All right, so how about this? How about we make a motion to approve it with the understanding that there's going to be a resolution filed by Friday, and we can go from there.
Thank you.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, okay, thank you. And thank you to the speakers tonight. It was very informative. We always encourage people to, as Councilor McGee said, better to come in committee than come in front of the council, because you only have a minute there. All right, so now we're gonna start off at number 1, and I'd like to make a motion to take item 1 off the table, where Mayor Murphy appoints Ms. Sheila Berman as personnel director. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I see her. She's with us tonight. I hope she didn't get scared away from our meeting, but we don't bite. And my sister Sheila told me to say hello to you as well, 2 Sheilas. So tonight I'm going to turn it over to our acting Mayor Murphy, and he's going to give you kind of an introduction, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for taking this up. Obviously, trying to get the position filled is kind of important at this point. I know it was tough to get a night open, so I appreciate you taking this opportunity. I will tell you, during the interview process, we were very impressed. She was interviewed by myself and Nilka Ortiz from the mayor's office. We then reviewed the resumes with Naomi from the personnel office. We were very impressed with Sheila. She had a variety of different experiences in a variety of different aspects of human resource as well as other kind of management. She also had an enthusiasm that was infectious. She had ideas in terms of making sure new employees get the support and the training that they need to be successful, and to follow up with that. And I know I think her first plan was after 30 days, she'd like to meet with new employees again, just to see how it was going. And if there was things that they needed, she was going to try to make sure they have plans in place to do that. She's had experience dealing with conflicts, either employee conflicts or management labor conflicts, as well as contracts. We just felt, and we had 7 or 8 people that we interviewed. We felt that she was an outstanding candidate. We felt that she had, even though she's not from Holyoke, she had a commitment to come and serve Holyoke with what I would consider to be extraordinary attitude and a potential. So we're hoping that you're going to see that as you interview her. And I hope that the committee can recommend her appointment so that hopefully we can have her start next Wednesday.
All right, sounds good. All right, so well, welcome to our City Council Public Service Subcommittee meeting. As Councilor Murphy had said, any city councilor that's here today, they can ask them any questions they choose. But how about we start off with you just giving a brief introduction about you and why you want this position and your background.
Sure. So I have a few different degrees. So my first one is business management, and I thought when I graduated high school, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I'm still trying to figure that out. So then I went back and took up health science and graduated with that degree. And then I decided that I needed more. So I went back and got my business healthcare administration management degree. So I started with National Ambulance years ago and worked with them and worked my way all the way up, and then was offered another position to go and do another startup company in West Springfield, which was New England Medical, and serve that community. And that's when I started to realize that it wasn't the job, it was the people. It was the community, it was the networking, it was just making things better is what I like to enjoy, what I enjoyed most. And I worked in Holyoke I tried to get the Holyoke contract, to be honest. That was my first introduction to Holyoke years ago with National Ambulance. And I got to meet quite a few people there. And I love Holyoke. I love the diversity of Holyoke. And there's just a lot of good change that can come. So I am at Curative Now, which is a startup company again for COVID-19, because it meant a lot to me to jump on this bandwagon, I guess you could say, to open up our communities again. And so I did that, and that job is coming to an end. And I saw this position and I thought, this is kind of a miracle. So I applied and I interviewed with Mayor Murphy, and I was super impressed. And I thought, well, this is probably my new home for approximately 35 years I have left, if you'd allow me to.
Sounds good. Well, Councilor Murphy, he did say a lot of great things about your interview and your personality at our last city council meeting. But generally, we just want to, any person that we're hiring, we just want to, that the council have, kind of their say, ask any questions. So having said that, thank you for that introduction. Now, if there's any counselors that are on the subcommittee itself, which I do want to recognize that we do have Councilor Lacey here. We also do have Councilor Libby Hernandez. Also joining us is Councilor Joe McGivern, Councilor Howie Graney, my good friend Councilor Tallman, obviously Councilor President McGee. And then we also have Acting Mayor Councilor Murphy, and we also have, I think that is it. Okay. So if anybody has any questions, we'll start with the subcommittee first. Councilor Lacey or Hernandez? Okay, Councilor Lacey, go ahead. Sure.
Sure. Thanks so much, Sheila, for your interest in this position. We have heard some really wonderful things about you. The personnel director position is a really important position in the city because you're helping to manage all the employees, and you would deal with any sort of personnel matters. Those matters are confidential. And so can you speak to what you understand about the nature of those sorts of complaints and how they have to be handled, and if you've had experience working within the laws that govern the confidentiality of those sorts of issues?
Sure. So HIPAA is obviously huge in the medical field, and then any management position that I've ever ran. I'm very serious about HIPAA. So how would I handle that? Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking you more, do you have an understanding of where the lines are regarding confidential employee matters?
Yes.
Where the legal bounds are?
Yes. So I will be completely honest with you. If I have any questions, I always refer to legal immediately to make sure that I am following guidelines. I know that there are some gray areas. And so I will always reach out to legal for any maybe I don't knows before I make any decision or move forward with anything. And I normally will never ever have an employee meeting by myself because of HIPAA. So I'm very serious about HIPAA. I have been for years. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Any other counselors?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Councilor Graney, then we got Councilor McGivern at that.
Just quickly, thank you very much, Sheila, for your interest in Holyoke. I have the utmost confidence in Mayor Murphy's management skills, so I'm going to support his nomination. And I have a word of advice for you. Those 35 years that you got left, make very good use of them because they come by very fast. Thank you.
Thank you.
True enough. True enough. Councilor McGivern?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Sheila, I too wanted to welcome you and thank you for applying, and thank you for coming before us to answer our questions. And I agree, and I think the entire city council understands that this position in any municipality, in any business, is extremely important. I liked your answer that you use legal to make sure that you're on the right path before you make decisions, and especially when you're working with employees. One thing though is, an HR director kind of becomes legal themselves, because many employees, department heads will be going to you to look for the answers for what's going on in their departments. So could you give us some examples, and you have a history from your resume of working as a manager, working with both employees and supervising them, and also looks like you supervised supervisors. Can you give us any examples of how there was conflict with employees that you dealt with and how you dealt with it?
Sure. There's conflicts every day, to be honest. At what level? I've had some pretty severe ones that we've had to get attorneys involved, and I've had, just regular ones. I was. Oh, was that me? So
sorry. That was my background.
No worries. So I was talking to Mayor Murphy. I'm dealing with one right now it's about to be settled, but we have a sexual harassment claim right now going on. It's pretty severe. One individual with 7 other individuals. So how I'm dealing with that is, at first, I like to collect statements, and I like to do it within 24 hours when it's fresh. I like to go to where they're most comfortable and get their statement so that we can hope that they remember everything. I then take that back and I gather it and I put it all into, a file. And I'll be honest with you, I walk away from it and I go do something else. And then I come back and I review everything, and then I have to go by the law, and the laws change all the time. And I get emails every day about laws that are changing. And so then I reference the law and we go from there, and then we start in-person interviews again. But this one was severe, where we had to get legal involved in this one.
So from historical perspective in Holyoke, and I'm not sure if it has to be, but health insurance is connected with our personnel department, probably more than it may have to be or should be. But in a certain time of year, open enrollment especially, your department is very busy. You noted how important the HIPAA laws are. Do you have any experience with health insurance and employees making choice?
I do. So I've been with startup companies for years, and unfortunately there was no HR. That's why I had to continually go back to school to keep learning more. And so I was the health insurance. I mean, I was calling different health insurance companies every year and trying to fight them against each other to, get the best plan for our employees and the most for our money. And as an employer, I obviously didn't want to have to pay a ton. And so, yes, so I've negotiated those for quite some years, and I will never tell an employee what they should pick, but I absolutely am great at explaining the plans at this point.
And your experience seems to be private sector and quasi-public sector. We're very public.
Yes.
Which means when the mayor, the city council, others are looking to fill positions, to appoint people, from our perspective, we need your position to help us and to guide us and to get us the information. Mayor Murphy said, your resume, and after the interview went to Naomi in personnel, which I'm guessing meant that she vetted through your resume and verified the items that are on it. Mm-hmm. When the city council wants to appoint people, we need someone to do that and to be able to come to us. But most important, we are political, by beast, by who we are. We don't want an HR director to be political. Are you able to rise above the politics and to give us stuff in black and white?
Yes. So I'm a very black and white person. This is who I am in work, out of work, in the community. I don't ever change. I don't have much emotion because I can't. And I've managed hundreds of employees over the years. So I'm very by the book, and what's best for the employer and the employee at the end of the day. But I've been to Boston for years now, trying to raise the Medicaid rates and speaking, and very okay with doing all of that, but I don't do the political game.
And my final question, Sheila, is Mayor Murphy, I'm sure, talked to you about salary. He hasn't talked to us about salary yet, but that's okay. He's still one of us. We just call him Mayor. But yeah. Is the salary you're being offered going to meet your needs for the immediate future?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that's an important question when you're interviewing someone, because you want people to be happy and you want people to be satisfied, because we work because we love to work, but we also work because we need income, and that's a big part of it. I do want to commend you for part of your interview with Mayor Murphy, and what you gave to us is training is incredibly important in this city. Yeah. And you talked about that both in your resume and this evening, and I think that's an important part of the job you're about to take, and wish you luck with that. And thank you for interviewing with us.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Councilor McGivern. All right, we have Councilor Tallman at bat.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman Leahy. Thank you, Sheila, for stepping up and applying for the job of a very, very important position in the city of Holyoke. And as you well know, with training is one of my important aspects of any position in the city of Holyoke, and you brought that through in your resume and through your interview with our councilor, Mayor Murphy. I was involved with the Postal Service with an EAP program for a number of years, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts on the Employee Assistance Program and how you would utilize that in the city of Holyoke.
The Employee Assistance Program, can you tell me more?
Yeah, it's basically the health and welfare of employees. They can confidentially come up to their work supervisors and try to get some counseling, whether it's alcohol abuse, drug abuse, problems at home, elder care, family matters. I'm just wondering, because I think that's important for our employees to make sure they have an outlet to go to be able to take care of, if they have things going on at home that are affecting their work, that's something that we don't want happening. We want them to be healthy, physically and mentally as employees. Healthy employees make better employees. So I just wondered what your thoughts on that and what you could do to help provide our employees with that type of service.
Sure. So the Employee Assistance Program that we've always had has been a phone number that they call, and it's a confidential line. But have I personally dealt with it? Absolutely. So I'm known for doing a weight loss committee. And so I do promote that, because the healthier you are, the more productivity we get out, and everyone wins, right? So I do that, and I won the first year, and I've never won since, but that's okay. And then I've had employees come up to me that have had drug issues too, and alcoholism. So I'm very non-judgmental, and I just want to get them help. And so I do. So I've been known on my personal time to call around and see if beds are open and bring them and check on them. And sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't come back. And sometimes I see them years later in the community and they're okay. But that's extremely important to me.
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't know how our system is in Holyoke, because I know we did have one a number of years ago, but I don't know exactly how that fits in. But just like a regular insurance, health insurance, I think it's important for our employees to have an opportunity to be able to get some help if they do need it. So that's one of my key things, and I really am grateful for you to stepping up to this issue, this job, because it is a very important job, as you heard from several counselors, that you're basically taking care of all the employees throughout the city, their health insurance, their files, any issues as far as discrimination. So it is a very important role, and I really I'm glad you stepped up, and hopefully you do have 35 years with the city of Holyoke, and stay with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Tallman. Councilor Hernandez, was your hand up?
It was, but some of my questions were addressed to Councilor Tallman's question.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Does anybody, Councilor McGee, see you up there?
Thank you. Just looking at the resume, I guess one of my biggest questions is, and Joe touched on some of them with the health insurance. The other one would be, how many staff did you have working with you to help you with your position in your other positions?
Sure. So depending on the company, sometimes I get lucky and I'd have a few supervisors and maybe a few administrative staff. And to be completely honest with you, at New England, I had no one. It was just me. So if I have the staff, great. And if I don't have the staff and I work around the clock for a few weeks, that's okay too. So anything we have to do so that the employees get what they need is what we do.
No, and thank you for that, because I know, I'm pretty sure Mayor Murphy pointed out that the HR department has been in the past not well staffed, or we've been trying to get people in there, and now with the director leaving, it hurts the departments. And having someone come in, knowing that there is this massive amount of work that has to get done, we've tried to put people in there to help with that, or other departments have come over to try and help. But we just want to make sure that you're fully aware of what has happened in that department, and making sure that it is helpful for you as you start that new position. That's all. I just want to make sure you're well aware of the staffing issues that have come and gone with that area.
Yes, I'm aware. It doesn't scare me away. It just shows me that there's new and better things to come.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I think employee engagement is huge. And so I think that if we check our employees' baselines and we keep that close relationship with them, we'll be able to keep more employees.
Thank you very much. And thank you for applying. We truly appreciate it.
Thanks.
Can I just make one
All right.
comment?
Thank you, Councilor McGee. Yeah, of course. Mayor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, we do have employee assistance program, which is funded in the budget. And so I know Naomi, who's going to be your chief assistant, should you get the job, Sheila. She's a wonderful person to work with. And I guarantee you, she's going to make sure you're fully aware of all the assets that are available in terms of counseling or whatever else is needed, so that employees know that they've got the support. So I just wanted to let you know that. And it is in the budget, and it's a contract. So
that makes me happy. And she's a doll. We've been in contact for the last week. And then when I found out that I had to have this meeting, I didn't want any ruffles. So I said, hey, I'll just talk to you in a few days so that we can make sure everything's okay. And then but she's a doll. She's awesome to work with.
Yeah, you'll absolutely love her.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilor Murphy. Appreciate it. Does anyone else have any questions? Scrolling down. I don't see any hands up. All right. So having said that, well, first of all, thank you so much for your interest in this. Obviously, it's an incredibly important department. You're going to be an incredible department head. So having said that, I guess I'd look for a motion to confirm the appointment of Councilor Murphy.
I'll entertain the motion.
Sounds good. Libby, second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes. Aye. Congratulations, our new personnel director. So now from here, I believe you have to, Joey, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to get in contact with Britta, our city clerk, Britta McGee tomorrow, and she'll swear you in.
No, I think she's got to go before the full council.
Full council, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, so you're gonna have to go in front of the full city council, and I'm assuming, yeah, there's gonna be no snags there. I'm pretty confident. So then next Wednesday you can get sworn in.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I won't let you down.
No, you won't. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. I'll entertain a motion for item number 2, which is an order filed by Councilor McGee regarding interviewing a translation company. I believe we had 3 on the jacket. and only, I think there's one left. So take a second on that.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Councilor McGee, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so as people know, the council is looking to have the interpreter in, so when we have our meetings, we have it English and Spanish. When that was approved, I went to Scott through Holyoke Media. He had to go to the mayor, then Mayor Morris, to approve the funding, because that was one of the things that the council wanted to make sure wasn't coming from the general fund. It does still come from Holyoke Media's side, and that was approved by the mayor before he left, and Mayor Murphy said the same thing. So the funding is there. The real issue is putting in whatever company can do it. At first, the understanding from Scott was that we could go to the school, the people who are doing the school, and I think that's through the UMass. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. But because they were doing the school committee meetings. So just use the same group because they have familiar with Holyoke, and we just go forward. Well, then, things went on the side because we're waiting for the contract. And finally, Scott came back and said, and that's when I reported to everyone, that the legal department for Holyoke Media had an issue, saying that there might be a conflict. So then ultimately Scott said, here are all the people I have either reached out to or started making up a list. I'm not going to say I recommend one or the other. I'm just going to give you the list, and you can give it to the council to then see what you want to do, seeing how the original thought potentially had the conflict. So I filed the order to give that list. And now, as Councilor Lay has pointed out, is I think one is backed out, one is offered up a different suggestion. So, I figured come before all of you to figure out what is the best way. I didn't realize people are going to be backing out. So how do we want to proceed in order to get the interpretations from the council meetings, up and running? That's what we've been looking to do for quite some time. It's now just getting the group in there to do it for us. So that's where we are.
Okay. I do see that we have, I think, Miss Ridley. Or why she's Joe, Councilor Givern.
I'm just curious, who's backed out and why did they back out?
All right, Jeffrey, do you have that information handy?
Yeah, so UMass Services backed out because they said that they collaborate with HPS on some things, and so they believe they didn't want to be in competition with somebody that they collaborate with in other respects. And that was a letter that was sent a couple of days ago. And then from what I understand today, conversations I had today, is that there were ethical concerns with the city council contracting somebody from the public schools. There were more in-depth conversations that I wasn't a part of. So the mayor may be able to explain a little more, but that's the gist of what has been explained to me.
UMass is contracted by the public schools, or they
collaborate. They partner with them in some respects. There was a letter sent a couple of days ago, but they partner, and they didn't want to be in competition with the public schools.
Does UMass understand that the public schools is part of the city? I don't. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But thank you. And who else backed out?
The public schools.
And did they say why?
From what I understand, there were ethical concerns, but Councilor or Mr. Mayor, maybe you can explain a little more.
Yeah, it was not very. I got a email, I don't know, sometime this afternoon saying, why are they being asked to come? And I said that we're looking to interview the interpreters, and it was why. And then I said, because the council wants to have a chance to interview who's going to be in, what company is going to interpret for us. And I never got another response other than they had told me they probably weren't coming, and obviously they didn't come. But I have not got a clearer picture. The other aspect seemed to be that they expected I believe they have a contract directly with Holyoke Media to do school. And I think they expected their contract to be with Holyoke Media and not with the city, even though Holyoke Media is going to pay us. I think that was another one of their issues based on what I read, and there was nothing that was clearly defined.
Well, that just raises one more question. Why is it Holyoke Media can contract the interpreters for the public schools, but not the city council?
And I don't actually absolutely know they are, but that's what it sounded like. And they were supposedly uncomfortable with that, but not comfortable with a separate city contract.
I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of between the lines or tones here of legal issues that I just don't see, and I'd like to understand them better before we make a decision, because something's going on. It doesn't all add up.
But we do have a company that has come in, so hopefully we can interview them and hopefully we can get the service up and running.
Always nice to have a choice, though.
It would be, but we tried. We had 3 originally.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Not a problem. Okay. All right. So I believe we do have a person from the company Transfluenci. Is that person with us?
I am. I'm right here.
Okay. Well, hello. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
I like your background. It's pretty cool.
It's just for my room.
Yeah. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here at City Hall myself. So you've been with us, pretty much the whole meeting. So you see how this kind of works. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you for kind of a background, exactly what you offer and what kind of service that you and your company are going to provide. Then any counselor can ask you any specific questions. So having said that, why don't you just give us your name, your address, and your background.
All right, my name is Jessica Ridley. I'm the operations and one of the partners for Transfluenci. We've been in business for 20 years. Legal address with the state is 17 Violet Circle in Westfield, Massachusetts. So we have a state contract with the state of Massachusetts as well as the state of Connecticut. We just were awarded the contract again because it was up for renewal for the state of Mass. We've had the state of Massachusetts contract now, I think 4 or 5 years running straight. We provide lots of interpreting services and translation services with, any language pretty much. We do provide services for a lot of hospitals, the Holyoke Medical Center being one of them, as well as schools, community, just whoever needs an interpreter, basically.
So let me ask you that.
Minority. Oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but as you're talking, okay. How does this translation service work?
So as far as if someone has a need, they call us, they can email us, they can go online.
Specifically for a city council meeting, how would this work for our city council meeting? So we would find out the form that you wanted. Right now I see this one happened remotely. The interpreter would come in, we could set it up. It really depends, and I have to get more information from you. When it's in person, I'm assuming, although it hasn't been specifically stated, I don't think I saw. Is it Spanish? I'm thinking that you're mostly looking for. Is that correct? Okay. So, when it's in person, usually what happens when the interpreter is, it can be done a couple of ways. If there's only 1 or 2 people, as long as they're kind of away, so they're not disruptive, they can do their interpreting. If there's going to be a group of people, usually what happens is the interpreter, we can either provide a booth with their in, and then people that need to hear, it being interpreted for them would wear headsets. So nothing is happening would interfere with your meeting that you have. So, just kind of giving you a kind of a hawk's eye look down at a little bit, we obviously get more information from you guys as to specifically what the setup's going to be. But no matter what the setup is, we're able to accommodate whatever works best for all involved. Let's start off, Councilor Lisi or Councilor Hernandez. Any questions? Councilor Hernandez, I saw you wave.
Not specifically a question, but I do know, I mean, I've been in meetings that companies have provided the translation, and they have been disruptive because I know that you mentioned a booth, which is nice because then the booth, that's where the translator would be, right? Inside of the booth.
Correct.
And then
so they're
everybody else.
inside a booth. Yep. And they have a headset with a microphone, and then whoever needs to hear it has headsets. So then you know it's completely quiet from whatever you guys are doing. You wouldn't even really know what's happening.
Right. Yep. Thank you for clarifying that, because in the past I know that it has been disruptive trying to listen to the actual, you know, information in English and then hearing the background with the Spanish. It has been disruptive. You can't really concentrate, but that's great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Great. Okay. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jessica, thank you. And just what you just described is during the course of a meeting, live at the meeting. At the same time, we are being live broadcast currently, you know, through Zoom streaming and a local public access channel on cable. Would you be able to provide all the same service at the same time for the entire meeting?
So it's recorded. It could be recorded when he or she is doing the interpreting. The actual interpreting could be recorded as well, just like it is in English.
Yeah, the Holyoke media would be doing the recording and the broadcasting.
Okay. Yep.
You know,
so we would be able to work with them and figure out, you know, what best would accommodate what they have, and just work with them very closely.
And there's 13 of us, a city clerk, a couple of lawyers, and sometimes the public likes to chime in. And it can be multiple issues going on during the course of an evening. Would this require one interpreter, or are we thinking two for the course of the evening so we don't tire anyone out?
No, I did see that in the email. At this point, I mean, it really should only require one interpreter and not have to pay for more than one, to be honest with you. And what they would be doing is it's more of instead of a consecutive interpreting, it's simultaneous. So as you guys are speaking it, they're like very close right behind you. So no matter who's speaking, they're, so it's not like, consecutive is when you go to a doctor's office and the doctor says something and then he pauses and then the interpreter says it. With this type of setup is simultaneous. So as whoever's talking, they're trained very well. They're specific interpreters that do simultaneous interpreting. So there's no pause or down or miss what he said, because it's just kind of almost like very layered, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. And I believe that's what we're looking for, or that's the way it would work more seamless. Yeah. The work you do for the state, is that in the trial court?
That is a whole separate, we have in the past, but now they have their own interpreters right now. So it's not as we used to years ago, it seemed like years ago, it was probably like 5 years ago, where now they have a lot of their own interpreters, and we do backup. We do a lot of legal, a lot of depositions, all the unemployment hearings that are happening right now. We have that contract with the state. So, and we also have a sister company called Transfluenci EDU that does specific training for this. So all of our interpreters are trained interpreters. That this is the field that they're in, and they've had specific training for.
Okay. And have you done anything in the government area of working with elected officials?
We have, yep. In the past, we have. We've also done things with investigative bureaus, all kinds of different, we have a whole resume. Like I said, we've been doing this for 20 years, so there's really not a scenario that we haven't had our hands in.
And if you survived for 20 years, I don't have to ask you about the integrity of what you translate, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yes, what we interpret or what we translate. Yes, we have a very high quality is like number one for me. And customer service and 100% satisfied. I want to make sure that everybody's happy. So if there's anybody that's just like, I want to hear about it, you know, because we want to correct it right away. You know, we would try to work with our customers as closely as possible. And I'm always reachable.
Thank you for answering my questions. And quite frankly, I think the other two competitors dropped out because they knew the competition was high. You did a nice job.
I'd like to think so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Tollerman?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Leahy. Thank you, Jessica, for coming down. And this is something I think us as a colleague, council has been trying to work on for a number of years because of the high Spanish population in our community. And I think it's important that we get this going as soon as possible. Councilor McGivern asked one of my questions. I thought I said it written somewhere too that, you know, some of the meetings might go on 4 or 5 hours, and, you know, does the interpreter get tired? Is there a backup one? Is there somebody that's like a relay? Does that ever happen? Or is there any time where if one interpreter is scheduled to be here and say they got sick or a family emergency, that you have people backing up so we don't, you know, run into an issue, we don't have an interpreter?
Correct. No, that's something that we always make sure that if someone can't do an assignment, because that's important to us, we're only as good as our last interpretation. So we could have had years of success, and then if you come and your interpreters aren't showing up or they're not doing it correctly, well, it doesn't matter what you did years ago or what you've done even months ago. You know, the people remember what you did last. So that's important to us. So if something's going to go on for 4 or 5 hours, you know, that is something that we would look at, but then we would break it up in a way that would make the most sense and would also be the best cost-effective way to you guys, you know, because we know that everybody has a budget, you know, so we are very careful, you know, in how we spend pretty much the money that whoever's paying for it, who, you know, who's spending it, that's important to us. So yes, that is something. Our interpreters, it's not just how well they interpret or how well they do their job, but it's like, how are they as a person? How are they in maintaining all their assignments? Do they show up? You know, I don't care how many languages how many languages you speak. If you don't show up to your assignments, you're no good to me. You know, so that's really important to me.
And then the other issue about the timing, it's like within seconds. Then if somebody says something, it comes right out. It's not like a 5-10 second delay. There's like almost simultaneously that comes out.
Correct. That's what simultaneous interpreting is. Yep. Right. It's just really almost so closely layered. It's a whole training. It's a whole different set of interpreting where they're just trained to just listen so closely and they think so quickly. You know, like I said, not every interpreter can do simultaneous interpreting, but when you have a really good trained interpreter in this field, this area of expertise, you know, they're really good at what they do.
And the other thing is, and sometimes I might want to call it like a secret shopper. You know, you go somewhere and you go to McDonald's and you say, well, I'm a secret shopper. You took 2 minutes and you should have been a minute. Do you ever have people like listening in? I think something that Holyoke could do, you know, somebody that's bilingual that listen in and see how your translation comes out to the person that's actually hearing it in another language. Do you ever have people like that, like testing?
Yeah, we do. We do. Oftentimes sometimes we will, my business partner, she's Spanish, I'm not. And she will sometimes, you know, check in and see how things are going. You always have sometimes people at different companies or different schools or wherever, you know, they're bilingual and they like to kind of give their feedback as well, which we listen to everything that's being told to us, and that's what makes us better. So you know, yes, that's something that we can check in for quality purposes. Absolutely.
Quality, right. And I think that's important because sometimes, you know, we say something and how we say it as elected official, you say it a certain way with, say, some meaning, and sometimes you might translate it. It might not have that emphasis when they're translating it, but we're just trying to get everything as close as possible to what we're trying to get across. Right. And I think that's one of my, you know, I guess one of big important parts of the job that you'd be doing is, you know, how does it come across and how does it sound to the person listening to it in another language? So
right, and that's why it's also important, especially for this area where, you know, a high population is from Puerto Rico or from the Dominican, you know, where that's who you're utilizing, because just like English, you know, there's some variances if you go over to England or whatever, Same with Spanish. I mean, we would never use an interpreter that came from Spain because there's just way too many issues with wording that just doesn't even mean the same. So you wouldn't be able to get across what was actually said in English correctly. So who we use and what we pick for interpreters is very important.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Yes, you'll go next, right after Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jessica, first of all, thank you for coming and offering your services. I liked what you just said about, where you're going to have a Spanish interpreter that's culturally from where most of our Spanish residents have come from, in that kind of language, dialect or whatever we call it. I'm not quite sure what the actual term is, but you know what I mean, and I appreciate that. A couple of things. One, let's say we had a 3-hour meeting, and let's say you wanted to have 2 interpreters just to make sure, and in the early part of this procedure, as you are kind of assuming you get the contract, and assuming the first few times, I would kind of encourage us to have 2 interpreters, just in case there's a snafu and one person, hey, I got something happened, I'm not feeling well or whatever. Plus, if we ended up going, I think our goal, if I'm not mistaken, Councilman McGee can answer this, is to have interpretation for our first meeting in August, and then going from there. But I think that would be for the first time, just to make sure everything's good. And if you would, how much is it an hour? And if we had one person, is it different than, I know we're going to pay more if there's 2 people, but is it per person we pay per hour or just per hour?
So it is per interpreter. And for simultaneous interpreting, it is a little bit more than consecutive. It is $65 an hour. And
so
yeah, and it would be
130.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm just trying to, one of the things I would like to invite you to do, and obviously you may not know if you're going to get the contract, but I would still like to invite you to, if you could, in the next day or so, if you could come and, I can set an appointment with you in the Ramirez and take you through the council chambers. So you can see how the layout is and where you think the interpreter might be, and then where the Holyoke media headquarters is. And Jeffrey, our administrative assistant, could certainly also guide you in terms of where it might work a little bit better or whatever. But if you're interested in doing that,
did you say the next day or 2? The only thing, I'm off starting tomorrow, and I'm not back on until Tuesday. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I mean, if you wanted to come and meet with me next Tuesday morning, we're going to have the meeting. I'm assuming if this gets recommended tonight, we'll have a meeting that Tuesday night to decide. But at least you'd have an idea of what you might be getting into.
Sure. Okay.
And so, if we could, I have opening at 10 o'clock on next Tuesday. Does that work?
That'll work for me.
Okay. So, and just ask when you come. Just ask to come to the mayor's office. We're going to have a greeter there, just to make sure we check in. We're still kind of taking our cautious approach in terms of people coming in the building, but. So I will have you down there for 10 o'clock and we'll take you through the chambers. And Jeffrey, if you can kind of be aware that I'm going to be bringing her through, and Scott, if you happen to be listening, if you could also maybe either have something arranged so that Jessica could see it. So I'm assuming, and once you come through that, you might think that you might be able to do this where you're not actually in the council chambers, but I don't know that. That's why I want you to come and see. And I think that might be even less disruptive, and you might get a purer hearing of what we're saying, and then obviously an easier aspect of conveying that out to the public. So, but I appreciate your willingness to come. Obviously, you've got a lot of experience, and I'm enthusiastic. I want to see this happen, and I'm very pleased that you stepped up, and I do hope that we will decide to work a contract with you and get it going. Thank you.
Sounds good. I look forward to meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yes, I do, Councilor.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Yep, go ahead, Councilor Gurney.
Yeah, just two things quickly. Ma'am, one thing, of course, that many of the councils want to make sure is that what they say is pretty much exact to what is being said, so that all the residents can hear exactly what's being said without a political twist of any kind. And the second thing is we want to make sure that the Spanish residents are going to have the technology, make sure they have the technology to hook up to this channel 15 so that they can hear all the information that's going on in the city council. We do a pretty good job with the English speaking with the Holyoke media, but we want to make sure that you have the technology and Holyoke media has the technology to make sure that it's broadcast in Spanish and that our Spanish residents have the technology to receive this information. So could you comment on that, please?
You're asking me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was listening to what you were saying, and I don't have an answer to that
you hear
question
me okay?
as far as I did.
You hear me okay?
I thought you were asking the mayor this question, so I was waiting for him to talk. I don't really know what the Spanish community has for being able to listen in. I think that's something that would have, I could have more of a conversation with Holyoke media to make sure whatever is being utilized. But just to say off the top of my head, how they're going to be listening to this if they're dialing into a channel, I can't answer.
Well, it's critical that that information gets out there.
No, I agree. Obviously, it wouldn't be worth interpreting if they can't actually get, hear it.
I guess Mayor Murphy has his hand up. Maybe he can answer the question.
Or Councilor Murphy?
Thank you. Yeah, it's my understanding, and I'm thinking Scott might be able to step in, but I believe Holyoke Media has purchased the equipment needed to provide the Spanish translation on Channel 15. I'm 99% certain that has already been set up, purchased, and ready to go. And if Holyoke Media is here, I hope he could confirm, but I'm almost positive. I know he was getting it. I'm almost positive he said he had it and it worked and he was ready to go. So it would just be a matter of watching on television and is it the SAP or something like that button, something like that. So.
All right, Councilor Hernandez.
Yes, I think at the end, Councilor Murphy answered. So if the equipment was purchased, it's just a matter of just tuning in into Channel 15 and the Spanish speaking population will hear it in Spanish, right? Is it going to be like on a different, if it's on Channel 15 for the Spanish, is it going to be another channel? How is that going to work? Do you know?
My understanding, there would be the person would be able to select Channel 15, but with the Spanish interpretation rather than the English. That's my understanding. Believe me, as you know, I'm not very technical, so. Okay. That's my understanding of how it would work. You would go on and select the language that you wanted to hear the meeting in.
So it's not like anybody in specific has to have any type of equipment while they're sitting in their homes.
To my knowledge, all they need is a television.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? I don't see any hands up. All right, so I'll entertain a motion that this has been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I think that Councilor Lisi got injured it or something went down. All right, so thank you very much. So we'll bring this out to the full city council next Tuesday, and we should know more after that meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. It was good education. There's nothing else on the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
And Jessica, can I get your phone number just in case there's a problem? If you don't, well,
sure.
Maybe you shouldn't do it. Is there a business phone number?
I can give you a business phone number. It's 413 737 1888.
1888?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, not that I expect any problem, but just in case, I want to be able to get back. And I'll touch base with you in the next day.
Okay. So all those in favor of adjourning? Aye. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate all the counselors and all the people that came in and speak tonight. Greatly appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Good night. Good night. Good job, Jimmy.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good night.